Okay, I think we have to leave it here for the moment, so we can pick up again in a general discussion. But I now want to move to the men before they feel marginalized and excluded from this. We have to finish here, at least for the moment. It's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Kamal El Helbawi. He's a very distinguished guest and also very interesting guest, because he is the former leader of the Muslim Brothers, the Ikhwan Muslimin, and he has quit the Ikhwan Muslimin. But by mentioning the Ikhwan Muslimin, I'm also mentioning a big problem of the Arabic Spring, because we can't deny that this audience is rather unanimous in its conceptions, but we know that Egypt is completely polarized at the moment, and that is a big problem. Everybody has an opinion. You're either with Sisi or you are against Sisi, to put it crudely. And I discussed this last evening with Dr. Kamal El Helbawi, and I warned him that when I gave him the floor, I would start with some questions in which I would gladly take upon myself, even though I'm not a member or a supporter of the Ikhwan Muslimin. I will play the devil's advocate. And I'll ask a few questions about what happened on the 30th of June and thereafter. There is this discussion of a coup or not. Well, if it was a coup, it's true, it has enjoyed enormous popular support. But the question many people ask, was this the way to confront all the mistakes that the Ikhwan have made? And we can agree that the Ikhwan made all possible mistakes that you can think of in the book. But still, there is a problem with democracy. Democracy is a process of learning by doing. And the fact was that the first parliament was elected with an overwhelming majority of Islamist votes for the Ikhwan and for the Salafiyin. And also Morsi was elected with a far lesser margin, just about 50%, but he was declared the legal winner. And isn't it the danger that you decredibilize or that you put in doubt the concept of democracy? Because it has taken the Ikhwan a long time to accept the democratic process, to become something of a political party, political participant. And like with Hamas, when Hamas won, all of a sudden the victory was not recognized. Is there not a problem that the Ikhwan and President Morsi was eliminated by the combination of demonstrations, but a decisive thing of the army? Wouldn't it have been better to wait for the parliamentary election? Because I'm sure that given the resistance in Egyptian society, they would have suffered enormous loss of vote. So, Kamal El Helbawi, you are able to talk from inside and from outside. So you seem to be the most suitable personality to answer these questions on behalf of the devil's advocate.
How much time, sir?
I'll give you a little bit more at the beginning.
Yeah. How much? How many minutes?
Let's say 8 minutes.
8 minutes?
Yes.
To answer all these questions?
I mean, I'm sure you are a very intelligent and wise man, so you will find a way to concisely...
Can I answer by yes or no?
No, that is the...
Anyway, let us start.
Yeah, that will be your first occasion. Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I have to say good evening, Assalamu alaikum. And I am happy to be invited to this forum, and many thanks to all the staff in the forum, Ustaz Farouk Ibrahim, Ustaz Salah, Ustaz Sami, الدينامو سحر تبعتني. She followed me personally many times to come to this program, and I am really very happy, and many thanks for all of you. We have here also some media people, teams, George from Cairo, and Ustaz Kamal Abu Baya and his wife, and we have Ustaz Hashim Qaisiyya and Marwan from Emirates as well. Hashim has an Azhari TV station in Egypt. And I have to really comment on the previous para about women. Many figures Nurhan brought out are not correct at all. And forget about the past. If you go to the constitution in Egypt, the new one that we drafted, I was the vice chairman of the 50 members committee.
Yeah, that is the most important thing.
So if you go to para 11, article 11, you will find that all these problems constitutionally should not be there anymore. The woman is equal 100% to men according to this constitution. She can be a president if she is able to. If we have a woman like Margaret Thatcher in Britain or Ashton Catherine, I hope our ladies will be better in their new positions in the future, inshallah. So forget about the past, let us concentrate on the future. Number 2, 30th of June, is it a coup d'etat or a revolution? I myself, very objectively, and from my analysis and participation as well, forget about the fatal mistakes of Morsi, the readings of the Muslim Brotherhood for 30th of June, 1 week before it was a storm in a cup. They saw the 30th of June is a storm in a cup. And they said clearly to Amr Musa and some others that Tamarrud will not be able to bring into streets more than 20,000 persons. And I would like to say, the people who misread the realities on ground will never participate in building a future. So what happened in Egypt is a full revolution. But coming to the next part of the question, I have to clarify very few points in short and quickly. In Egypt, we do not have the democratic political life as you have in the West. In the West, every country, at least they have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 at most parties or alliances that can replace each other if there is a problem. But we do not have this in Egypt. The most strong organization and the political party was the Muslim Brotherhood, one aided by the other Islamists like Salafis and Jama'ah Islamiyya and Jihadists and others. This is the most strong. On 15th of March 2013, I wrote an article. I hope that everyone will read it. It's in Arabic, the 4 expected scenarios in Egypt. السيناريوهات الأربعة المتوقعة في مصر. 5 months before Morsi is removed from power. And I said clearly, you can find it in القدس العربي, in صوت الأمة, in الدستور. I said clearly there are 4 scenarios. The best scenario is Morsi to continue and do what is called in the West good governance.
Yeah.
But I said he will not be able to do that. The second scenario, and the only second scenario, will be the army should interfere to protect the safety and unity of the country. And this is what happened. And I said the third scenario will be some sort of chaos, especially if the army does not decide the matter clearly and defeat terrorism very shortly. And we are passing through this third scenario at present, a part of it, the chaos in Egypt. And I said the fourth and the worst scenario is that America and the West can cooperate together and describe Egypt as a country suffering from terrorism and bad human rights and burning churches and others and interference in politics, because they did not understand the actual realities on ground. And this will be the first, that the main thing of interfering in Egypt's affair. But I am saying from this floor, as I said before, to Americans in different areas, Egypt is not Iraq. Egypt is not Afghanistan. Egypt is not Syria. Egypt is not Somalia. And the American ambassador, Ann Patterson, who was removed from Egypt, quietly know what I mean by that. So this is the first point. If it was a coup d'etat, it should have some characteristics. The first characteristic, it should be secret and surprise, which was not, because the Minister of Defense gave warning for 1 week for reconciliation and then 48 hours. No one can make coup d'etat while he is giving a warning to others. That is the first point. The second point, the one or the group who makes coup d'etat, they should control the country and come to power. They will not allow anyone else to come to power, as we have seen during the time of Nasser, or in Syria, or in Iraq, or in others. Whoever makes a coup d'etat should control the country and should lead the political life, which did not happen. The army in 30th of June interfered in political life in the same way they interfered in 25th of January revolution. But even in 25th January revolution, they controlled the country as a transitional period 1.5 years. Here they did not. They proposed a roadmap to make constitution, parliamentarian elections, presidential elections. We, when we were drafting the constitution, opened the door for the legislator either to take parliamentarian elections or presidential elections at first. And this is why they are making social dialogue to find out which way to take, whether the presidential elections first or the parliamentarian elections first. Also, there is a difference. The coup d'etat, you can find a lot of blood. The coup d'etat comes against the will of the people. But on 30th of June, we have 33 or 30, whatever it is, million people on the ground asking that Morsi should go, Irhan should go, as they said to Mubarak, because he was stubborn and did not yield to the people when they asked for early presidential election. I can explain this in 1 or 2, 3 hours, but your time and the 8 minutes have gone.
I'll give
Thank you.
Thank you very much. At the risk of increasing my popularity, my impopularity at the end of the evening, I'm still going to ask you a second question, and you get an Egyptian minute from me to answer that.
Egyptian minute means until tomorrow.
But I asked you yesterday evening also, was it not possible, because under the existing constitution that was the constitution of Morsi, it was foreseen that there would be parliamentary elections in November. You say there were so many millions of Egyptians in the streets. That's a form of public opinion poll, if you wish. But the most important and the most valid opinion poll is the ballot box. Wouldn't it not have been better to let the elections in November take place according to plan, and then all those people whom you said represent the entire Egyptian people?
You were right. If things were normal in Egypt, but two events increased the possibility of revolting and bringing Morsi down. Two events. One of them occurred on the 16th of June, just 2 weeks before the revolution. And it was the jihad conference against Syria, without telling the army that we are going. So you are putting the country at a stake. You are going to fight against the country, and you dismissed the Syrian ambassador while the Israeli ambassador is still in Cairo. This is one of the very serious events that occurred. The second serious event, when the 7 soldiers were kidnapped and hijacked, Morsi wrongly said that we have to keep the lives of those who are hijacking and those who are hijacked. So he made equal the criminals with the innocent people. So, and at the same time, the activities of the takfiris, who call themselves Salafi jihadists in Sinai, were increasing every day. So the country, solidarity and unity and safety were at stake. You can't wait more than that.
But I'm here not that easily in my role as devil's advocate, because the activities of terrorism in the Sinai preceded Morsi. You remember that one of the reasons why Morsi put aside Tantawi, because he accused Tantawi, and it seemed for a foreign observer, rightly so, that the army did not protect the lives of the 16 Egyptian soldiers who were killed in Sinai under the watch of Marshal Tantawi. So, I mean, Sinai problem didn't start with Morsi and the Ikhwan Muslimin in power.
I don't like to talk much about Morsi and the Ikhwan and their mistakes. But anyone can write Kamal El Helbawi articles in العربي, and you will find my criticism long time for them to understand. Unfortunately, I wanted them to stay in power, but on one condition: to show the people good governance that we are talking always about. You understand me?
Yes, yes.
We were talking to the people about Umar ibn al-Khattab, about the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We were talking to people about justice. We were talking to people about equality. We were talking to people about transparency. We were talking to people about ideal world, but we could not show the people any sign of that. So don't compare a long life democratic style in the West with what is going on in Egypt. This is a big mistake for researchers. We have a science called fiqh al-waqi', fiqh of the realities on ground, that we, and also we have another science called fiqh al-ma'al. What things will happen if you wait? What things will happen if you do this and this? You see, it is, you call it strategic sciences and the strategic plans or whatever it is. We know it in other different terms and terminology, and we felt that the security of the country is at stake. We did not make any Guantanamo in Egypt. We did not establish any Abu Ghraib in Egypt, which is in the West. And I see that the Westerners accepted what Bush did in Guantanamo and in Abu Ghraib and in Afghanistan and in Palestine until today. So it is really every country has its plans and realities and information to deal with. I'm sure there are some mistakes. I am sure that the security forces, when they are, I am sure they are doing that. And in Human Rights National Council, I am a member with Ustaz Muhammad Faye. We are tackling this at present to make sure that the meanings we inserted in the Constitution will be transformed into laws, and we implemented that no one will be done any injustice against in future, whether he is an Islamist or liberal or secular. So I think we are going to judge our own behavior in the future, and we are not waiting for the West to dictate. Thank you.
At this point in the event, I would like to invite a reaction from another guest, which is Mr. Gijs Verbossen, who is sitting over there, who is actually doing a PhD on the role of the army in Egypt. Could you reflect on what Dr. Helbawi has put forward? And I think that would be an important addition to the debate.
Yes, I can. First of all, thanks for allowing me this moment. I guess I would like to reflect with a question put forth to Mr. Helbawi as well as to the audience. Because looking at the recent history, and actually I agree with Ms. van Steenhoven that revolutions are not new in Egypt. And well, let's speak about uprisings rather. Uprisings are not new in Egypt. Ms. van Steenhoven referred to a long past history, but also in recent history, and I would like to recall, for example, the uprising of 2008, April 6th. There was a big uprising. Several tens of thousands of people took to the streets, even more people, supposedly so, were on a strike. My question would be, why do you think the army now, on the 25th of January 2011, chose side with the protesters, whereas in recent Egyptian history there have been several occasions where the army could have done that, and where the army could have sidestepped Mubarak? I'm wondering about the timing of this event, because I think looking at that question we can have a closer understanding of where the future of Egypt is going, because the army, the choice of the army to time their siding with the protesters now is going to be crucial for how the future of Egypt will look like, I think. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yes, now in European
no Islamic minute. Your question is valid, and I will tell you 3 reasons. One of them is that Mubarak amended the constitution. He is preparing the ground for his son Kamal to come and as a ruler, and to change the Republican system. It was not acceptable at all. And the third, Mubarak was called at the end of his life the strategic treasure of Israel. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, we are very much pressed for time. I feel very unhappy because this is, of course, the big question that we want to discuss. But I'm informed that the personnel here working has to take leave because they have to take public. So we have come almost. But there is one short question I want to ask Mr. Koetsenruijter, who is the former ambassador of the European Union in Tunisia. So we just followed it from abroad. And Dr. Helbawi was talking about a possible grave mistake that the West could make by trying to intervene, and that Iraq, Egypt is not Iraq, not Afghanistan. Could you very briefly reflect on that, you who have been following it on behalf of the European Union, the start of the ASF?
Thank you very much. Also, thank you very much for the invitation. And we have European minutes too. We just stopped the clock, and then there's no more time. We just do as if it's still 11 o'clock, even in 2 hours from now. But let's not do this tonight because the staff has to go home. First of all, are there any Tunisians in the room also here today? Yes. Then I really want to pay respect to you because today, 8th and 9th of January. Yeah, I was there, of course. Yeah.
What's come from Tunisia?
Yes, I was there, of course.
The whole story is about Egyptian, and that's a big problem because we start the revelation.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to say first something about Tunisia, because I was there from January 2008 till last year, and I was there, of course, in December 2010 when Mohamed Tariq Bouazizi sparked off, in fact, the revolution. But I was also there at another very important moment, which was exactly on the 8th and the 9th of January, when people in Kasserine, Tala and Regeb were killed in big scale by the army of Ben Ali, and that was really what made the whole population decide, now it's enough. The fatigue with dictatorship, I think that's also what explains the Mubarak case, and we have to pay respect to the victims of Tala, Regeb and Kasserine today and tomorrow. I want to say that first before I say anything else about what we do in the West. I was very impressed by the Tunisian people, the way they did the uprising or revolution against dictatorship, and everyone here should thank them for that. On the role of the West, I think I fully agree that we should first of all not dictate. Secondly, we should even try to keep a certain distance and have a certain modesty in our approach. Of course, we have this feeling that we know about good governance, you even mentioned it, and human rights are very much in the discourse, in particular of the European Union, that represents the member states. And we always felt very awkward in the relationship with all these countries who are in the dictatorship, not only in the Arab world, but elsewhere in the world as well. Many problems that we saw in the Arab world or see also happen elsewhere. Don't forget Asia, Latin America, but even our European countries. It's nothing new to mankind. Discrimination of women, violence against women happens. I'm now responsible for countries in Latin America, just as much over there. It's a fight that we have to keep on doing for a long time. We started only about 100 years ago, and if maybe even 50 years ago in the West, that women got a place and are more and more recognized as having their place. And by the way, it's beneficial to society. The fact that women participate in the economy, participate in every sort of debate, has made us what we are now, which is much better than we were 50 years ago. And that's the future that I see also in the Arab world. That's the future I certainly see in the countries that I know best. Tunisia, I was also accredited in Libya. I'm very optimistic about the role of women there. I know that they suffer. You paid the price, but you're there. And you're going to get that, because these are people who are the most active and have exactly the feeling where they should be going for. I've been very much impressed by women in all these countries, and I'm very much hopeful about you. So I'm not pessimistic at all, and I'm happy to see that the Arab Spring is anyhow quite a party tonight. The West should not dictate. What we do have, of course, is interest too. We want to be sure that we, as neighbor countries of Egypt and other countries in North Africa, that we have a relationship that brings, let's say, peace, but also welfare and no trouble, avoids trouble. And even more, that we become partners in fighting more global problems, problems of global poverty, but also climate change and also terrorism, etc. That we are friends and work together. These are the objectives that we have as Europeans. It's not always very visible. Catherine Ashton, you even said Ashton Catherine. It's Catherine Ashton, she represents Europe, she does this a lot. She's a woman, and women are certainly also first on her agenda, don't worry about that. And maybe if the next one is not a woman, it may be slightly less, that would be regretful, but certainly there. But what we try to do is build partnerships. That's our interest also. And the best thing to do with Europeans is to find the interest of the Europeans themselves, and then build partnerships on base equal recognition of, indeed, processes in countries that we cannot, certainly not influence. We've tried to do so, we've sometimes done it very badly. The examples were given, Iraq, Afghanistan, doesn't work out at all. Europe and also the United States, the West should know, these people are now standing up, participation is growing, it will still take time, but it took time for us to find partnerships and see how we can work not just with governments, but with societies. That's why nowadays in our cooperation, the most successful things are working with civil society, but also with local authorities. In Tunisia, they have got much more responsibilities now, and we can work directly with regions, with cities, and finance some of their projects. And this is also a way of getting empowerment at the lower levels of making decisions. This is where Europe has added value. Okay, I'll stop there.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm afraid I'm the most unhappy man of this evening. First, I made myself unpopular by playing the devil's advocate, but even more because I have to cut off this very interesting discussion at the moment that we would like to continue. And perhaps we can continue informally in the foyer or something like that for the people who are still there. But I have been warned, we have come at the end of the time that we can use the facilities. And to my very, very big regret, I have to cut it off here. I just give the floor to Marok Ibrahim on behalf of the organizers.